Welcome to the Biz and Tech Podcast. My name is Blake Dowling. I am your host. And today, it is all happening in the studio. We are in Tallahassee, Florida. The weather is nice. Football comes on tomorrow. What else could a boy wish for? I am delighted and honored to have an old friend, one of my favorite people on the planet, in the studio today, Cameron Williams.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I was imitating your glasses, but I'll take those off now because they're my ears.
Oh, wow.
But thank you for having me. It's really good to be here.
Since I met you in 1988, we've aged a little bit, I think.
Indeed.
We're like a fine wine, man.
A fine wine.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself. Tell us what's up, and we'll get started, man.
All right. Well, my name is Cameron Williams, and I grew up here in Tallahassee, Florida. And it's funny where we are right now. My dad actually grew up right down the road. And my mom taught right here at Hartsfield Elementary. And I went to Leon High School in Tallahassee and then went on to Colorado for school and then back to Florida State, where I graduated from. Go Noles.
Go, okay.
Okay.
And
yes, and I've spent most of my life as a professional musician, but I've certainly done many other things and lived in all over the place. Aspen, Colorado, Athens, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, North Carolina, New York, and finally landed in Tampa, Florida, where I've been since 2017 and pretty much put down roots there and plan on being there for a while.
I think Theo Vaughn has a lovely bit on Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, yes, he does.
If you haven't seen it,
Yes,
it involves the game of hide and seek, but we won't delve into that too much
today.
Yeah,
we're keeping this above board, is what you said.
PG-13, man.
Perfect.
And speaking of your parents, fun story. I was sitting at Cypress with my wife, Jeannie, a few years ago, and the couple next to us was hamming it up and having a good time, and I glanced over. I was like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, what's happening? We spent 3 hours talking, having fun, drinking wine, and they said goodnight, and I turned to the barkeep a few minutes later and said, we'll settle up now. He's like, Mr. and Mrs. Williams took care of your tab, son.
Yes.
And I said,
that's mom
awesome.
And dad. Yeah.
So my best to them and you.
Well, they said to give you their best, and they were excited that I was getting to do this with you, and I come by it honestly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So first up, I was thinking when I first met you, Philip Tunnicliffe, Cynthia and Charles had allowed Philip and I to set up in their basement a little jam session.
Yeah.
And Philip invited you to join us, and our jam sessions were, Smoke on the Water.
Yeah.
And I could play Sweet Home Alabama a little bit.
That's right.
And you came in and just started rocking some Zeppelin.
I came in and played Rock You Like a Hurricane 100 times. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, those were fun times, and everybody was picking up instruments and seeing if they could be rock stars for a minute.
Well, see, I figured at that time that I could not, and you figured out that you could. So it was a life-changing moment.
Yeah. Right.
Well, let's dive into some questions. So we're going to start in 1994. I was deep into my studies at the University of Florida.
Yes.
And I was seeking an escape from the stress of academia.
Yeah.
And so I dialed you up, and this is pre-cell phone era. I don't know how we communicated back
It's
then.
amazing to me how we did anything back then. How do we pick up people from the airport? I mean, yeah, it's it. But anyway, yes. And I don't want to correct you on your show, but I think it was 1993. But I know you were so busy, you probably didn't know what year it was.
Studies. Probably had a lot of tests.
I think you're talking about summer of 93 in Athens, Georgia?
93?
Really?
I was within a year, man.
Yeah.
That's close.
It would have been the fiscal year of 94 for school, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. So I called up Cameron. I said, hey, do you mind if we come on down? I was with, I don't know. Sharp.
D.I.
But that might have been the Horde concert.
That was.
So
we're talking about a different Athens time?
I think there's a different. I think it was like Beth Cohen and Tanner Sly and Boone Brewer and Bonnie Howington.
Okay, that was a different. Yep. Same house.
So we showed up.
Same house, yeah.
To just have some quality time in Athens, Georgia. They lived on a river. I'll let him tell you about it. But my favorite memory, which I wrote a column about this not too long ago, Cameron says, hey, let's go out to the Ki-Fi house. We want to see this band playing in the basement. And Jason McDaniel, your bass player at the time, he's like, the Dave Edmund Show. And he starts making all these. I'm like, what is going on? So we walk into this basement at this frat house, and there's a band playing. And it's a sax player, and it's a bass player, and a fiddle player, and a drummer, and a guy named Dave playing acoustic guitar, and they start rocking.
Yeah.
Like frat scenes, you've played a lot of frat
Yeah.
houses. I was in a fraternity. I was a social chairman, so I know
We get it. We
I know
get
my
it.
frat basement
Yeah.
concerts.
Yeah.
Those people freaked out. And the first song, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You know,
Yeah.
there's no electric guitar. I couldn't
Right.
grasp it.
Right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Dave Matthews Band
Yeah.
playing the frat house. And I thank you for introducing me to Dave, because we ended up going to all his Florida club dates after that.
Boy, who knew?
Anywhere I could see him. I mean, this is the best thing ever.
I thought they might be going places, but who knew back then?
Exactly.
From
So
the
tell us about
basement to
that.
MTV.
Tell us about that house. What led you to Athens? That band at the time. What was going on in that chapter of your life?
Yeah, a lot of the guys we were with in that band, Jason McDaniel, Richard Proctor, were from Tallahassee, and then Rusty Bishop went to Washington Lee, and Randy Goodgame went to Birmingham Southern. We were all, and I was in Colorado. We all stayed in touch that whole year because we had started playing after graduating high school. That was our first freedom, you know, and so everybody went to different schools. And we wanted to get together and continue the band during the summer. And when we weren't in school, and like really, you know, hopefully record something and just work and play music. And
the band name was?
Black Creek Band.
This was Black Creek Band.
Black
I thought
Creek
so.
Band, yes. And I think we became Black Creek Band over that summer.
Was it named after that creek in the back?
You know, it was named after the little. It's almost, I think it's a ditch now on the way down to Alligator Point.
Okay.
And yeah, I think Richard saw it on the sign and thought it was a cool name.
Okay.
And
I never knew the origin there. That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah. I think that's what it's from. And a lot of people think it's Black Creek in Jacksonville because we had a lot of friends and fans in Jacksonville. And sure, but a lot of it had to do with the water in this area looks black because it's, you know, the cypress trees and everything make it look that coffee dark.
Sure.
And so we went with it, and it worked, and it was easy to pronounce, which is a good thing for a band to have a name you can pronounce. We'll get to that later.
Well, I worked with a band called Dexter Freebish, and they would never put it in the right bin when CD sales were a thing.
Yeah.
Are you Dexter? I'm like, there's no Dexter. It's the name of a roller coaster. So I get it.
So anyway, we had some friends who had a house in Athens. They were on some fraternity in Athens, and they needed to sublet it for the summer. And so that's how we got into that house. And that house, we were probably the most white trash neighbors on the block. We had a car on blocks in our front yard. We had, you know, the neighbors like, who are these guys that just moved in here?
And playing drums at all hours. That's
Well,
fun.
you know, we made a studio such as this beautiful studio, except for we didn't have the funds to make a professional studio. So we found some used carpet and put that on the walls and the ceiling. And I don't know if you remember that at all. And we had lights from, you know, whatever hardware store just to give it some, you know, Christmas lights and all that kind of stuff, and just made it a little jam room, which we spent a lot of time working in there because we really, I mean, we definitely drank and had a good time or whatever, but we were at 18, 19 years old, and we didn't really go out. We didn't have the money to go do that. I mean, we had a ramen noodle box that I think one of our parents gave us just so we could eat and stuff, and we loved it. It was a
Peanut
really
butter and noodles, man.
peanut butter noodles, you know, yeah, a couple stray cats that we adopted.
But that house was beautiful, and I do remember it
was
well.
special.
Because I'd pick up the guitar when y'all weren't working and try to play some Smoke on the Water for old times' sake.
Yeah, man.
But y'all had like the Black Crowes vibe in that rehearsal space. You
Oh,
know?
yeah. Oh,
Lights.
yeah.
Was there lava lamps in there?
There was lava lamps. There was, I think, we found some stuff in the garage. We had some mounted fish on the wall and some random pictures, and
nice.
and I think we spray painted it, the carpet, which probably was not healthy in an enclosed.
That sounds like
roof.
a violation of
But
something.
we would have bands who played, like Jupiter Coyote, who was a big influence of ours, and guys from All Good and guys from Watchford Panic and stuff like this, when we were at Athens, would come over, especially the Jupiter Coyote guys. They'd come over and
I follow
we'd
Matt
be like,
Mays
listen
on-
to this. And it would be so loud in a room. They'd be like, sounds great.
I follow Matt Mays on Facebook these days.
Oh,
We
yeah.
connected.
Oh, yeah.
He's a riot, man.
He is.
They're
He
still
is. He
getting
is.
it done.
He
So you've been a professional musician for a large chunk of your life.
Yes.
Let's talk about the road. Favorite part about touring, besides the actual show itself?
We were
Favorite
just-
part and worst part?
We were just discussing this earlier because on the I love to eat. And I love to go to cool local type restaurants. So I really enjoyed finding places like that when we were on the road, and of course seeing friends. You know, that's like getting to see friends. And when we were that age, getting to go to multiple universities and see the different cultures at the universities, getting to check out like Ole Miss and Athens. And back then it was mostly Southeastern. We were a more regional band.
The Natty Light culture.
The Natty Light culture. But
And the different take with each
yeah,
town.
getting to
I
see
get it.
Tuscaloosa, Auburn, going down to Tampa, playing over in Jacksonville, Washington Lee, all the schools up in Virginia and North Carolina. And it was playing the venues there, but also playing the fraternity houses and stuff back then, because back then they really, really loved your original music, which I think has changed a good bit with the whole, just technology and DJs and this kind of stuff and cover bands, which there's some great ones out there for sure.
Right.
But I think back then, I remember we would
didn't
go
have all
play.
this techno when I was your age, son.
We would play. We'd send our tape to like whatever fraternity we were playing. They knew all the words to our songs when we got there, So I thought that was really cool. And you talked about Dave Matthews, getting off subject, but talking about Dave Matthews and Blues Traveler and All Good and Widespread and those kind of bands, really, that really nurtured that original artistry, of writing songs and people loving the songs that they were, getting to hear at their
that era.
frat house or bar in town.
I figured I would be a metalhead for life,
Right.
but that era of music changed my music trajectory as a fan
Same.
and career trajectory.
Same.
I didn't really think I would want to work with bands. That was
Yeah.
never a goal, but that became a goal.
Yeah.
And it was the Horde '94, which was White Buffalo, All Good, Colonel Bruce Hampton, The Samples,
Yeah.
Blues Traveler, and Widespread Panic.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about a lineup, like all-star.
Wow.
And
Right.
it was every day was out.
I'm so bummed I missed that. I really am. I see pictures of you and Teal. People are like, "You were there." I'm like, "I was not. I wish I was."
Well,
Would've been. We were playing.
We saw plenty of shows from those bands over
Yes.
the years, but that lineup, I mean, it was a game changer. Awesome. So, favorite bar?
So you said the least favorite thing on the road.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I know. I was. Is just the. A lot of the day to day, and we weren't big enough to like have roadies and all that kind of good stuff. So you get done playing, and everybody pictures this. Oh, you go party into this. Like, no, you carry equipment.
You're
to
loading
the
out.
trailer, and you load out equipment, and that's and you're loading in and trying to get to where you're going on time. And God, back in those days, we didn't have Google Maps, so you'd end up. If you had a flat tire, if you can't find a phone, you're waiting for somebody, so it was.
And what was up with trailer tires? They just blew out all the time.
Yeah, just too much weight on them, not enough.
That's simple, huh?
Yeah. We had that old white van, the Econoline. We thought we were big time with had the little VCR and the TV. There we had Princess Bride. We had, what other movies do we have? Spinal Tap, of course.
Of course.
We had a handful of go-tos. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
You talked about discovering restaurants on the road. What was your favorite discovery from touring?
One that sticks out.
Or just from your travels?
One that sticks out was I'd always loved going to like Oxford, going to Proud Larry's in Oxford, which is still there. And then when we would play, we found a good little fan base in Baton Rouge. And they played at the Varsity. They had a little restaurant next to it called the Chimes.
Oh, yeah, right to the right of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then
I've
we
been
would
there.
go, and then the guy there, Glenn Prejean, that used to book us, would take us to, it was like called the Silver Dollar. It was soul food, and it was fantastic. Yeah. And usually it was like soul food back then, when we could eat that much and be okay.
So you played a big show last weekend. I'm going to segue this question into.
Yeah.
You just mentioned Proud Larry. So when I was a tour manager for the Charlie Mars Band, a
Right.
gentleman by the name of Jason Fuller played keys.
Yes.
When we could afford to bring him out. So
That's
we did
right.
a run through Hattiesburg, Oxford, Jackson, and a couple of other Starkville, Rick's Cafe, Proud Larry's.
Yeah.
Some awesome
Yeah.
venues.
Oh, Rick's.
So Jason, I agreed to cart Jason from Atlanta to Rick's. Maybe we were recording the show. Maybe that's why we needed some keys. And so I was exhausted from the evening's activities, and I was like, "Hey man, will you drive my Ford Explorer?" And we're cruising down I-75, and I'm asleep, and we're going about 110 miles per hour, and he put the car in reverse, and we abruptly stopped.
Oh my God!
And I said, "What are you doing, man?"
I don't think I know this story.
And I'm in shock. I'm
Did
laughing.
he drop the
I'm
transmission?
like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I was trying to like see if I could, because I had a little digital readout that would show your miles per gallon. I was trying to put it in neutral, like we were going 100, see if I could get better mileage, and then like I put it in reverse, man." And I was like, "Oof." Jason and I were tight.
Yeah.
And he paid me for that too. He's a good man.
Oh,
So
yeah,
my
he is a
question:
good guy. Yes.
You played at a huge festival, Halloween.
We got invited to play the Halloween festival last weekend, which was really a treat. It's funny, we're kind of more of the band here is Tishamingo.
Okay.
And name not as easy to pronounce. And but we got invited,
Good point.
and everybody was able to do it. We don't tour regularly now. Our drummer is an Episcopalian priest over in the 30A area, and
Oh, he's my mom's
he's
preacher.
your mom's preacher. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
She asked him when she needs something to email it to Richard. He can print it out for me. Love you, Mom.
So, yeah, that's good times.
So who else was on that bill? Tell us about the festival.
The Halloween was incredible. It was it's every year over in the Spirit of the Swanee, which is a special place. I've been playing there and going to festivals there since I've been young. I even went there canoeing as a Boy Scout because we would go do little camping outings.
And
stuff.
fun fact, you were an Eagle Scout, weren't you?
That's true. I was.
Huge, man.
I was. Please
awesome.
don't ask me to give the full oath right now or the
We can tie
motto.
Some, we can tie some knots later.
Yeah. But no, that was a great experience too. And but Live Oak was really special, and they do a great job with this Halloween festival. And I guess the headlining band, and it's their festival, is String Cheese Incident out of Colorado. And
Nice.
but it's they have all kind of special guests. Everyone is dressed up. Crazy outfits, and the dark. When it gets night, the whole thing changes into it's a visual spectacle to say the least. And they have an area called Spirit Lake where they have there's companies that come in and artists that come in and actually do like full on installations. Some of them are shooting fire. There's like little tunnels, and you open a door and you're in this cool like outdoor chapel, and there's somebody playing music, and then there's bands doing pop-up stuff, and it's just an incredible event. They really, with that many people living in it becomes like a little city for the week. They do a great job. And from the band side of it, the production was run incredibly well. They have a nice RV as a backstage, and we got to, warm up and do all that kind of stuff. And you get on the stage, and it's just pro, and the lights and the backdrop and everything. So really, really was a fun experience. I wish we could have played longer than an hour, but we were thankful to get back together. And everybody in that band, really, we just all still brothers and friends, and we look forward to hopefully doing some more stuff. I mean, coming up in the spring. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll talk about another
Yep.
upcoming gig of yours here in a minute. So let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
You lived in Aspen for a good chunk of your 20s, or maybe 30s.
My 20s and 30s. I had 2 separate stints there.
So fascinating piece of information. Cameron wrote for it was the Aspen Times, correct?
Aspen Daily News,
The Aspen Daily
the other
News.
paper in town.
And I was doing my due diligence on a column. I've been wanting for years to write a Florida politics column on Hunter S. Thompson as a writer. He's an influence on a lot of writers.
Yeah.
And I always wrote something to canned it. I'm like, how do you write about this guy? But I finally put something together.
You did.
And it was pretty good. I'll give myself a solid B+.
Yeah.
But you actually had the gig that Hunter S. Thompson had. Did you not?
I was trying to find that online today to qualify that.
Were you the sports writer? What was the gig?
It was a local sports writer for the Aspen Daily News, which the Aspen Daily News is an old rag from Aspen, still going. There's 2 papers in Aspen, the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News. And you would think a town that small wouldn't need 2, but they kind of serve different purposes.
Sure.
And it was short. Our friend Erin Pigman helped me get the job. Erin Lentz.
She's a media kingpin woman now,
Yes,
right?
she is. Yes, she is. And she was, funny enough, she was writing like arts and entertainment, music, and I was writing sports, which, covering local sports in Aspen can be anything from a World Cup now the X Games to our local women's hockey team, which was the Aspen Mother Puckers.
Excellent name.
Yes, they were pucking great. You said I couldn't use the F word, but I can use the P word, right?
Of course.
Puck.
That fits. That's awesome. All right, let's pivot.
Let's do it.
What's the first car you ever had?
Ford F-100.
So I have a memory of a 1970s-ish looking station wagon.
That was my mother's station wagon
that wasn't
that we
yours.
would road trip on. Yes,
Okay.
yes, in.
So when
Not
we,
on.
So we borrowed your car,
Leslie's
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
to go see Eric Clapton in St. Pete.
That we did.
Only concert I think I fell asleep in. I think I had the vibe we were going to see Metallica, and we're like, passing a bottle of tequila around, and we go to the show like, woo, Andy Watkins, Brad Troutman.
I think we all piled in a hotel room, if I remember correctly, or maybe 2.
12 people in one.
And I remember there was a hotel bar, and that was the first time that I ever heard a band play The Weight.
Oh.
Yeah, by the band.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I will never, because I've never fallen asleep in a concert before.
But leave it to you to lead the way. Say, hey, come on, we're over here. And I guess they let all us in the hotel bar. And it was a motel bar. And it was some local band.
Nothing but class in St. Petersburg.
That's right.
Awesome. So, most important music influence. What you got?
Man, there's so many of them, and there's so many different. Because I sing, I play guitar. Singing wise, I mean, Greg Allman, Ray Charles, those are the surface. Bob Seger.
Excellent. Bob's underrated, man.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, I have a
Brilliant
raspy
artist.
voice. And then like songwriting, singing, J.J. Cale. Who else we got? And then, of course, guitar is I love Dwayne Allman, and of course the whole Almond Brothers family, Warren Haynes, Derek, and Susan, Derek Trucks, Susan Tedeschi, their band now is and Derek really is. I mean, he's such a talent, but the person that he is influence for any musician to be that talented and be that level. Did
you ever see them in Frogwing?
Oh yeah,
Which was what Edwin McCain singing?
Yes. And I remember them being at Potbelly's, and the drummer who taught our drummer drums, Butch Trucks from the Almond Brothers, Derek's uncle. After the gig, we were kind of hanging out, but he was chatting with Edwin, talking about when Potbelly's was some old frat house that he used to play in back in the day. So
nice.
Yeah,
because we saw them in Gainesville at one of the local spots down there, maybe Rickenbacher's, and he was 14, and him and his tour manager, his name was Blake, so I remember it 30 years later. They came and hang out with us after the show. It was freaking
Blake,
awesome.
Blake Butney.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Nice.
I love Blake. Yeah.
So time travel.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you go, man? Where would you go?
This question.
Anywhere on Earth?
I mean, we were just talking about the Almond Brothers. I would love to have been at the Fillmore East when it was happening. So I would love to have been alive and been able to see the music in the 60s, early 70s before a lot of the good ones left us. But then you got into more a historical thing. And for some reason, we went to Paris this summer. I just was like, man, I would love to have, not necessarily, if I could just pop in and pop out, like the French Revolution times. For some reason, it's really interesting to me in that era.
Definitely pop in, pop out. Imagine how bad people smelled back then.
Oh my God.
Just throwing that out there.
People forget about, we didn't have the amenities that we have these
forget
days.
no cell phones, no deodorant, man.
Yeah. So anyway, that's.
So what is, as a connoisseur of the nation, a well-traveled individual, what's the best bar in America?
Well, I lived in New York for about 5 years, and both in the city, in Manhattan, and Lower Manhattan, in the West Village, and also Brooklyn. And across the street from my apartment in Park Slope is a bar called the Skylark, and that bar is just it's nothing fancy, but it's I don't know, it's one of my favorite bars that I've been to a handful. And
more than 4?
More, yes. Yeah. But it's got 3 pinball machines in the back. I got really into playing pinball. I finally got my own machine at my house, got Deadpool.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
So, and we could have a whole nother show on pinball. But
or bars.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And I have my own answers because when I think of best bars in the world, Windjammer, Isle of Palm always pops into my head because it's on the beach.
Yeah.
Amazing sound, great backstage, good food.
Oh,
best
music
burger.
bars.
And
Yes.
you could gamble there too.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
And a good jukebox.
Which is huge.
It's huge, yeah.
But the answer is Smith's Old Bar. I had a house
of
across the
course.
street from Smith's Old Bar in Atlanta, Georgia. Music every night, great food, sports bar. I mean, it was everything all in one. And the owners, of course. I used to close the place down with Bo Nolan.
Yeah.
Because he would come knock on my door after, say, hey, man, you want to shoot some pool?
Yeah.
Watch me count the money? I'll be like, hell yeah, Bo. I hope you're still out there, Bo, having a good time and running the best bar in America.
That's right. That is absolutely one of my favorites. Without a doubt, it's home. I mean, Smith's Old Bar in Atlanta, when we talk about getting a flat tire, that happened to us on the way to Smith's Old Bar, our first gig there. And this is back when Dan used to really be involved with his dad, really be hands-on. Like,
right.
We showed up, I think we were
Nolan and Reeves.
2 hours late, something like that, because of the flat tire. And I think finally we got to a phone and we're able to call and say, hey, we're all running behind. Boy, Dan was like, you want to get big in this industry? You don't be late. You da-da-da. I mean, he chewed us and doing. And I always respected him for doing that because he's right. And he's seen the good, bad, and the ugly in the music business.
And it's kind of like the dog ate my homework. We got a flat tire. Yeah. That's every band in America, man.
Yeah.
You know, those guys, you want to talk about load in, load out?
Oh, my God.
The stairs.
It says it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll on the stairs in the back. And if you have not loaded in on the Smith's Old Bar stairs up the fire escape in the back.
And that's an AC/DC song.
You should not be allowed to be big in the music industry, in the music business.
That's awesome, man.
It's a rite of passage. But they have a lift now.
Yeah, that's smart.
Not fair.
So what advice would you give your 18-year-old self? Don't choke on your coffee.
Yeah, no. Carry a smaller wallet. I used to have this big wallet.
That's
just,
That's
and carry less stuff in your pockets. That's a real shallow, whatever answer.
Functional, though.
But then, have fun. I haven't had a problem with that in life, but, and work hard and try. Everything I would give my advice then, I still try to give myself that advice now is the distractions. Try to limit the distractions, which is a challenge for, I think, a lot of us and me for certain. Yeah.
I like it. So who's your favorite podcast host?
Duh.
That's a loaded question. Awesome. Correct answer. You win.
No, you, of course, that Smartless was it Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes. Have you heard that one?
I know those individuals.
Yeah,
That's a lot of talent.
they're it's pretty good. And then Andy Frasco. I don't know if you've listened to his podcast, but he's got Andy Frasco's World Saving podcast. I think what it calls it. Are you familiar with him as a musician?
I'm nodding yes, but no.
Yeah. I'll have to show you. He and his band, they're fantastic, hilarious. But he does a podcast, and he's so goofy on the stage, or whatever. But when I heard his podcast, I was like, "How's this going to be?" And he's really good at interviewing musicians, and so he goes in depth with a lot of different musicians. You have to check it out. I've really enjoyed listening to his podcast. It's everybody from Dave Schools to Ivan Neville, and they go in so many stories.
Nice.
So anyway, that's
to that end. What's the worst question you've ever been asked in an interview? And you can't say that question.
No, I that's the first thing that popped up. No, I would say it's not a question. I'd say it's interviewing with someone. And I used to do more interviews when we were touring and had a publicist and all that kind of stuff. But when you get into this situation and the other person has obviously not done their homework and not really asking you the same question over and asking you really bland questions, you know what I mean? Like, what was your favorite thing to do on the road? You're like, how just because they didn't.
I think I asked you that question, didn't I?
In a different way.
See, that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes, in a different way. No, that was not,
Awesome. So professionally, you took your back catalog with the Black Creek Band and Tishamingo, and you put those on online streaming services, right?
Some of it, yes.
You can check that out on Spotify. How was that process?
It's incredibly easy, which is a really big win, I think, for upcoming musicians who have been around for a long time. I didn't know really what I was getting into. I talked to a friend of mine who's a entertainment lawyer and manager and of a couple bands, and he suggested a couple different companies to use that are online distribution companies, and I went with the one called TuneCore, but there's one called DistroKid. There's a whole bunch of them out there, and just kind of shop around for which one kind of fits your mold. But Tishamingo made an album with John Keane in 2002. And this is when we were not signed. We funded it all ourselves.
John, that was Widespread Panic's big producer, right?
REM, Indigo Girls.
REM, okay.
Yeah, one of the reasons we moved to Athens later was to be able to work with him. And so we did our first album with John at his home studio, and really, really good experience. But that had never been released. It's 2002, and it's 23. And so I started looking more into this, had the time to do it, and did that. And then with Black Creek Band, we did an album live from Gainesville, and I believe we recorded that in 94. Came out in 95. And so all those were just out there, no way to listen to them because nobody's got CD players or tape players anymore.
Well, our digital and production team, Gabby and Josh, are probably going to play some Tishamingo for us right now. With some State of Mind. What's your favorite song that you've written? Little self pat on the back moment.
I really enjoy the way that I really like our third album. We have a song called Devil's Love Song, and the way that came out, I'm proud of that song. And
what's it about?
It's about the words like "My devil loves your angel," so it's about the good and the bad, and it has to do like a love story between the angel and the devil. And there's other things that can be about whatever you want it to be about, but it popped in my head because Paul, my friend Paul that does Halloween, had a festival back in the day in Aspen, and the poster for it was an angel and a devil. It was called the Harmony Festival, right? Harmony. So on the top of the poster was a devil and an angel kind of touching hands.
Cool.
And that, I was like, okay, Devil's Love Song. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so anyway, it's kind of it sounds like it could be on the opening for True Blood. You know, it's got that kind of Southwestern, yeah. So.
Favorite concert of all time, and there can be only one.
Oh, man. What? One special experience of a concert that I'll never forget, and you can actually look it up on YouTube, I did this, is Beck played at the Georgia Theater, and 2 nights. And after the first show, the Georgia bar owner from across the street of the Georgia Theater called me and said, "Can we borrow your, can we get a drum kit and your speaker system, your PA and a bass amp? Because Beck's band wants to come play unannounced in the bar when they get done at the Georgia Theater." And I was like, okay, if I do all this work, are they really coming? You know, I kind of like, sure, they're coming to play at the Georgia bar. And sure enough,
and
man.
Prince is with him too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Sting's showing up. But they did come over, and man, it was like, I wasn't around in Athens back when the B-52s and REM stuff was coming up, but I would hear about the house parties that kind of started all that, because the bars would close earlier back then, and they'd all go to house parties. And that's kind of how REM and the B-52s, it's told to me that they kind of came up.
Right.
And this kind of had that feeling, you know, and there was a couple old school Athens folks that were in there, and I was like, does this feel like that old, like and here it was, Beck, and they were playing cover songs. They were covering Michael Jackson. They were wearing wigs. So that was a special. I love going to big concerts, not as much anymore as I used to, but I like the smaller special stuff. Like that happens in New Orleans at the little
Right.
bars, like you're at DBA and Stevie Wonder walks in and starts playing piano with the band, that kind of stuff. So, and then, I mean, of all time, going to see the Grateful Dead for the first time in Las Vegas was an eye-opening experience. And that was in 1993, right before I moved to Athens.
I heard you got a sunburn that day, but we won't tell that story today. I saw the Dead in Vegas myself. You know, the cool thing, that story reminded me, you don't really know you're in a music scene until after it's over. Mm-hmm. Like when I was running around Atlanta in those days, you would have Train and Matchbox 20 and Hootie and the Blowfish and Edwin McCain and Driving and Crying and Collective Soul and Bloodkin and Jupiter Cody and Blue Dogs. You never know who would pop in the door.
That's a good list.
Well, you live across the street from that bar. You see all these people playing every weekend.
Yeah.
And that was my social life. That was where I got that was my meal plan and my social life.
And like we said, literally at Smith's Old Bar, every band played there.
Yeah, and the band I worked for at the time, Sister Hazel. You know,
That's right.
They would record an album at Nickel and Dime over with Don McAllister down the road from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, man. All right, serious question. We'll talk about an upcoming show in December you've got going on in Tampa, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
Because we've got football to watch.
We got
Florida State's playing Miami.
Miami, man.
We're going to Red Stick, which is what the French call Baton Rouge, for the Gators to play LSU. We'll see how that goes. Good luck, Coach. We're rooting for you, man. So our serious question, what's the biggest challenge in your life?
We're rooting for you, too, because we play at the end of the season. So, like I told you last week, never cheer for Miami. Okay. I don't care if it would.
Someone walked up to Cam and said, "Go Gators." He goes, "Okay." Which is a great neutral comment. I love it. But what's been the biggest challenge in your life?
Being disciplined and sitting down and writing. You know, like I have so many great stories, fun, not fun, just experiences. I'd like to start writing more, and I feel like my challenge is just to do it and quit procrastinating. Procrastination is, I'm really good at that.
Procrastination's the devil's lemonade?
Yeah, sure.
New saying. I like it. We'll write a song called that. All right. Well, before we close,
can I give you some gifts?
Sure. Yeah.
While we're on the
So,
just for your information, when Blake Dowling would show up, whether we're going to go to a concert or go to whatever event, or he was just road tripping, he would always show up with stuff from roadside attractions or truck stops or whatever. So I wanted to kind of give you the same and say thank you for taking me and my family to the Florida game last weekend, and also just to say thank you in general and give this to you in your office, and hopefully you can use it. And there's a couple things in there I do want to explain before we. Who doesn't love
Python?
I mean, you probably have mugs in your office, and that's for that.
Beautiful.
Yes.
It's totally beautiful.
Musical notes.
Sticky notes.
Sticky notes. I know you love those.
Also beautiful.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Dude. It's a game where you say dude.
Dude.
This is a game where you say dude. There's a lot of different ways to say dude. Dude.
I mean, yeah.
Ages
and these days, the way
up.
the kids, we're bro. Dude, bro. And these are just soaps for your bathrooms. Yeah.
That's good.
Make it soap.
Wow. Very scented.
I haven't smelled it.
More soap. Spock. We love Mr. Andy Warhol, of course. And a top. This looks...
Okay, I want you to... So this has a small short story with it. And I kind of want to do this business with you. So this is... We'll see if... We'll say it here and maybe it'll come to fruition. But
these are how ideas are born, my friend.
My grandfather had a business, which is still going in Atlanta, called Dixie Seal and Stamp Company. And he had employees, and he'd say, have you done this yet? And he'd say, well, I'm going to get around to it. And so he would, if you look at the round item I gave you, wow, look at that thing. It's really spinning. And I never thought of doing it on the top, but he would have these little round coins. And what they would say on it was what yours says. What does it say?
To it?
Yes, Tuit. So he would give it to him and say, here, now you got a round to it. So I think we should carry that on and make round to it.
Wow. If you can zoom in there, that is genius. It took me a minute there.
Yeah.
It's the morning.
Yeah, who doesn't say
we're shooting in the morning.
Get around to it. But no, and then that is left, right, center. I don't know if you've ever played that game, but that offers hours of entertainment. We do it at family events, and it's a very brainless, just absolutely fun game that. Yeah.
Brainless is my middle name.
I mean, it's just a fun game to sit around and laugh. And
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, brother.
Hey, my man, thank you so much.
Well, we're not done. I'm just thanking you for the gifts.
Oh, you're welcome.
Your last question for today is, you've got a gig coming up in December in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
My stepson's down there. Reed, you got to go out and support him.
Reed, come by.
My buddy Doug Iverson and Wakefield.
Yeah.
I believe they were on the news this week promoting
They were on
it.
they were on Janelle's show yesterday.
So it's about
10
oysters.
Tampa Bay.
It's about oysters, and it's for a charity. Walk us through it real quick, and
Yeah,
we'll call it a day, man.
Yeah, it's Tampa Oyster Fest, and our buddy started this. God, I'm not sure which one this is, but it's in 10 years, and it started a little smaller, and now I believe it's 1,200 people is what they're shooting for this year, and they do oysters in all different ways. They have B&D Oyster Company, and so this kind of morphed into this event, and so now it's music, oysters, low country boil, barbecue, bar. Hopefully the weather will be beautiful. It usually is this time of year in Tampa, and it's at a beautiful location called Tabella's, which is a event space and really nice outdoor event space with a stage and everything. And the tickets are for sale now, TampaOysterFest.com, and I think it's from 1 to 5 on Sunday, December 10th.
Okay.
And it goes all the proceeds go to a charity called Frameworks, which works with children and giving them opportunities in the community.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
Frameworks of Tampa Bay. So you can check out the Tishamingo social media, Instagram, Facebook, and you can also check out, just like I said, TampaBayOysterFest.com.
Cameron,
Yeah.
it has truly been a pleasure talking today.
I think we could have gone all day.
Yeah.
There's so many stories.
Maybe we'll have a sequel. We'll see how the rest of the football season goes.
I would love that. Yeah.
Well, good luck with the show coming up in December.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it.
If you want to check out Tishamingo online, as the gentleman said, they've got a great catalog. They've got a show coming up in Tampa. Cameron, thanks again. Josh, Gabby, Mallory, thank you for joining us. I'm Blake Dowling. That's the Biz and Tech Podcast. Tune in next month. We will welcome several staff members at Aegis, including Jeannie Dowling. Look out. It's going to be a Christmas holiday fiasco special. I look forward to it. Go Gators. Okay for your team too. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. You rock. Nice.
And we're out. Great show.
That was fun.
These are awesome, man.
That was fun.
Totally awesome. All right, where's your bag?
Oh, it's right here.
Okay. So we can, we'll just be casual, I'll say.
Do you want to hand it to me, or do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea. And I'll take the hat off for you so you can put it on, because it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And Jeannie gives me a total hard time because it used to be the
Oh, that's great.
Biz and Tech Podcast with Aegis.
I didn't even look at it.
And I was like, no, it's the Aegis Podcast with Blake. I'm the host. And she's like, you can't put your name on it. I'm like, I just did.
Too late.
For our guest today, we also have some presents. Thank you for this wonderful assortment. We got your official podcast hat.
Sweet.
And a couple other little goodies right here.
With Blake.
With Blake. That's Jeannie's favorite part. Well, it's not with
Nice.
Coach Bowden. It's with Blake.
Thank you. And
Your very own book, which is huge in Belgium, very popular at truck stops.
I need you to sign this for me, and I got one for my dad.
Awesome.
Sign, please. Oh, who doesn't even a turvis?
And a cup.
And
Something else? Bonus?
a lanyard.
Oh, lanyard. I thought you might need it for backstage passes and whatnot.
Yeah, man, if I ever get one. There you go.
Thanks for tuning in. Later. Awesome. Good stuff, man.